Is this some new metal? Like
Kinda.
NU?
Yeah.
Listen,
NU metal.
it's called Chunk, okay? Just enjoy.
I do like, is that the artist name or is that the song name?
That's the name of the song, okay?
I like single word names for songs.
This song for sure was in either one of the Matrixes or like a movie about vampires. Had to be.
Okay, well, Colin, I'm going to give you your cue now to start talking live about esports. This is your cue.
Can the audience hear this sick beat?
This is your cue.
Yeah, this is your cue. You're live.
Hey, Colin, we're giving you a cue.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Matrix. We got Morpheus on the line. No, I'm kidding. What is up, guys? Welcome to the theScore Esports podcast. This is a weekly show where we leave behind the plays of the game and talk about some of the bigger storylines in esports this week. I am Colin McNeil. In the studio with me is Kyle Chatterson and Ryan Stratton.
Hey, what's up?
All right, guys. So this show already has a couple names already. We got the theScore Esports podcast. We got the Esports Grandpas. But today, I think we can call it the CS Show. See what I did there?
Ooh, yes. More puns,
yes.
Colin.
Reason being, we've got two guests that I'm actually super excited about from the world of Counter-Strike. We've got Rogue's CSGO manager, Hampus Johansson, and aka Shabby. Not too shabby guest right there, I would say.
Holy.
We've also got Matt Trivett, better known as Sadokist, the voice of CS, you might say. Now let's jump right into it, guys. We got Shabby on the line from Rogue. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing very well. How about you?
We're doing great. We're really happy that you've come to join us here to talk about some taps, some headshots, some smokes, all that good stuff. To jump right into it, Shabby, I heard a rumor that Rogue might have something coming down the pipe in the form of another CS:GO team. Can you confirm or deny these rumors?
I am going to say that is very, very likely. We are currently looking into potential academy rosters. To be representing Rogue.
And to confirm, an academy team would be sort of like we've seen it in the past with other teams, sort of a secondary, almost farm team.
Yeah, pretty much. Like that's not 100% how we look at academy teams.
Okay.
However, we are going to be in the future try and utilize the academy team as a farm team for the main team. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this correctly, you are getting an academy team. Is it official?
It's not currently official yet. We are working on, or we're working towards being able to announce it in the coming days. Potentially, depending on how long finalization of everything goes, might take a week. But we are 100% getting an academy team, and we're super, super excited about it.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks.
There you go.
Rogue
Breaking
is,
news.
quote, 100% getting an academy team. That is awesome. Is there any details that you can give us right here, right now?
Right now I can tell you it's a Scandinavian team. We've pretty much finalized the roster. We're in the ending phase of that, and we have some big plans for the team.
Okay, so real quick, do you think what makes Scandinavian players so good at Counter-Strike is the lack of sunlight in the winter months?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I can't tell you. It's for sure something spectacular. Like you can see all of these Scandinavian teams, even Norway's in the mix. Like they have Jacob, they have Rubino.
Even Norway.
Even Norway.
Norway.
Like that tiny little country on the edge. Even them has really good players in Counter-Strike.
But
really, I mean,
there's too much light, guys. That's why North America doesn't do as well right now. Is it's just too much light here.
You're going to chalk it up to how much light.
100%.
Well, by that logic, you'd think Canada would be doing pretty well, right?
Well, we're not going far enough north in Canada.
No, that's true. It's true. We're pretty south.
We need too much of our population is right along the border. We need to go up into like Northwest Territories.
I'm waiting for that breakout Alaskan team.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
An Alaskan team. Maybe isn't that a bit too rough? I mean, come on.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the population probably isn't there, but what else do you have to do except get good at Counter-Strike?
You know, they pay you to live there.
Yeah,
that's a fact. Yeah, they actually pay you
really?
to go to the United States government. We're getting a little off track here. Love to talk about the geopolitical situation in NA right now. However, that would be a waste of your precious time, Shaabi. I want to ask you more about something really general. Like, I want to get your take on the CSGO scene as it stands right now. Is it healthy?
Okay, so when you talk about the CSGO scene in general, there's it's very broad. So if it's healthy or not, I wouldn't say so. No, right now,
Really,
it's very it's way too many events. It's way people are getting if you knew the salaries, they're up in the 20s. Up in 20K a player. Even though, trust me, I'm a big player advocate. I love that the salaries are getting bigger and bigger. However, the pace that they've been racing on might not be too healthy in terms of the business perspective for orgs. I don't think it's sustainable for an org to be paid, or an org without investor money, which is going to try and pay 25,000 per player, is going to have a rough time, no matter who it is. I think that in terms of that aspect, it's not very healthy. But however, we're moving towards a more traditional way of playing and a more traditional way of practicing. I mean, you can see European teams, we start practicing at 11, 12 a.m. or p.m. I guess, I don't know, 11, 12.
Yeah.
In the day is when we start practicing, and then we have a normal 8-hour day, and then we have the night or the afternoon, whatever, off. So we can go hang out with girlfriends, family. We can do fun stuff while playing the game, which wasn't the case back in, I don't know, 2 years ago or a year ago, or even a year ago probably.
So what has made this change? I mean, people have always been talking about burnout. So why has Team Rogue decided to take a work-life balance here?
Sorry, please say that again.
Colin, you're good.
Well, I think what Ryan's trying to get at is we've talked a lot on this podcast about burnout in CS:GO because it is a real issue, and you hit on some of that topics. You said that there were too many events and that people are going too hard and being pushed too much. But it sounds like that Rogue is taking sort of a measured approach to it. You said you get up in the morning and you practice like it's your job, and then in the evening you go do your family thing, your personal thing. Is that important for the health
100%.
of a player?
100%. If you were only playing CS:GO for 12 hours a day or even 8 hours, even when let's say normally a player plays FPL or something whenever the practice ends, or even before the practice at times, depending on when you start. In our case, when we start at 11 in the day, we have a bigger chance of keeping our sleeping schedule. We have a bigger chance of actually having good overall just schedule in life. I mean, we eat at regular times, we have times to spend time with friends, which can be rough. I mean, let's say you're traveling for 3 weeks out of 4 in a month. It's going to be rough hanging out with friends. It's going to be rough with your social life. You're going to be spending so much time with these 5 or 6 different individuals that you have in the team. So that's also something that creates drama within the team, no matter who it is. Even if you're best friends for 5 years, you're still going to have drama because you're spending such a big amount of time with each player on the team. So I'd say 100%, as long as the majority of teams doesn't have normal jobs or treat CS as a job in terms of practice hours, in terms of hours they put into the game, then
Just to jump back into the middle of what you said there, you're talking about all the different games, different leagues, or sorry, I guess events basically.
Yeah.
How do you see the structure of the scene working out? We've seen moves to try to exclusivize, leagues with I think there's been 3 different attempts. Yeah. Is that the right way to do it? How do you see CS:GO in its ideal state?
Me personally would love to see one league being the main league of all leagues. I think me personally think that's a good idea. However, the approach that, for example, PEA had was just atrocious. They tried to do it in just such a short amount of time, and they tried to push away ESL from at all existing in NA, which is not viable. You can't do that. I still want there to be LANs in different other events. However, right now there's ESL Pro League, which is the main league, I guess, but it really isn't. If you look at all the other prize pools and look at all the other time-consuming leagues, so right now there's too many leagues. There should be one main league, and then there should be other events around it.
Do you see like a global league or like a European and North American leagues?
I'd say a global league, which demands the players to either travel to one place, such as E-League did, or actually have it be online stage for EU, online stage for NA, and then you have like maybe an MSI such as they did in League, and then they go back for another split, and then there's the big final, which is global. I will also try and increase the amount of teams that goes to those finals and increase the amount of teams that are in the leagues, but that's the way I would do it.
Now, you hit on something earlier when you were talking about all the events that people go to. You're talking about the salary of your average player and how that's going up. Is that proportional to the amount of big business and sports franchise and sort of big money players we see getting into CSGO and esports in general right now? Okay.
It is. Okay. It's basically, the thing is right now everyone is getting such big amounts of investment money. I mean, you can hear different rumors of people getting over, like the latest as yesterday, I think NRG said they got 65 million from Washington or something like that, which is absurd. But people are getting big investment money, and that of course is going to inflate the price of a player. I mean, each player is, don't get me wrong, I think they're worth that much, but the pace it's racing is just not really functioning.
No. So do you think this is kind of turning into a bubble?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess the next question I have is, and we actually talked about this on our last podcast with Ryu from Selfless Gaming, and we talked to him a lot about sort of the next step. How does an independent organization that doesn't have the money from Washington, D.C. behind it, how do you compete and stay tier one in a major esport like CSGO?
You don't. It's just that. As long as
all right. Yeah, there you go.
Case closed, guys. All right, let's wrap it up.
I mean, as long as you don't have investment money, you're like, there's a very, very tiny chance you're going to be able to pay $20,000 per player. Like, just imagine how much sponsor money that would have to be able to pay for that each month. Let's say you signed them for 2 years.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. You're talking $20,000 as a monthly salary. So
$20,000 a monthly salary. Which is, I mean, with normal sponsorships, that's not possible. We're we luckily enough have Stevie Aoki, and we have some other investor people behind us. But like, let's take Selfless, great example. They had a start investment, they had a capital. That's quickly going to run out, and they're going to have to gather sponsors to be able to pay for their players, and they're not going to be able to compete with even so little as 10K, I don't think.
Well, that's fair. So how does a small organization who doesn't have Steve Aoki, like, how do they survive? I mean, you said they didn't, but is there a way that they can sort of, like, maybe tier 2 or?
Yeah. Like, as far as tier 2 goes, I think they can for sure. Like, there has to be space for tier 2 teams as well, and they're also going to need support from an organization. They're going to be needing to go to all of these different events. They're going to do boot camp. They're going to need salaries to be able to practice. They're going to need salaries to be able to live their normal life as well. So there's for sure space for tier 2 orgs or even tier 3 orgs. However, it's going to be rough even then regaining that money you're spending in sponsorships, because the sponsorships aren't that big for tier 2 teams, unfortunately.
That's fair. Before we let you go, I just want to get a little more granular on you and just talk about one specific player on the main Rogue roster, which is Glace. He recently became listed as inactive, and I wonder if you could give us any details on that at all. What's going on with him?
So, Glace, in the beginning when we originally formed the roster, which was originally Unity, with Maniac, HS, Glace, Cadian, and Tensky, Glace wasn't really supposed to be a support player, which he later on turned into, which is not a role he's confident in. He's not a role which he himself feels he should play, and when a player doesn't feel confident in himself, that starts. It impacts the others in the team. We didn't really. It's not at all a player we wanted to replace. It's not a player that we had to replace just because. It's a player we felt that we needed to replace because he didn't feel confident in his own play, and when he doesn't feel confident in solo play, that just impacts the rest of us. And me personally, me and Glaze have a great relationship, both outside of the game and within the business. So it was for sure a hard move to make for us.
That's fair enough. Do you know what his next plans are by any chance? Where he's headed?
He's talking to people. I'm sure you'll see him compete again in a few months, in a month or two.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Hampus Johansson, Shaabi, thank you so much for talking to the theScore Esports podcast. It was a real pleasure to have you on.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Have a nice day.
Yeah,
You
we
too.
will. Make
Cheers.
sure to do that.
Yeah, see you.
We got a nice blizzardy day to have here, actually.
Yeah, it's actually very Scandinavian outside in Toronto as we speak.
So
feel at home with them.
let me get a handle on this. Rogue is from Las Vegas, right? That's where they're based?
Well, they're not really like from
not
Las
from-
Vegas. They
yeah, they're
just
being
kind of
moved there.
moved there very recently.
Yeah, recently because of...
So there's speculation
Because
around
of
this.
reasons.
Yeah, there's speculation
because of
around this.
what?
Part of this could be Overwatch League spot coming
Yeah.
up. So like they've got an Overwatch roster, so
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
aiming to get that. Part of it could just be there's more scenes kind of popping up in the North America. Maybe you're starting to see. I mean, we do see a lot of American investment coming into esports. So it could be that people are just kind of centralizing around North America as the hub. I mean, for CS:GO, it's traditionally kind of been Europe. So that's a market change for that. But yeah, I mean, it could just be something as simple as that. I mean, if you're going to get things like E-League popping up, you're going to want to be in the States.
Yeah, I mean, so with that said, I mean, sometimes with farm teams being so far away from main teams, I mean, you run into a lot of issues. You see this all the time in traditional sports. If and when they do announce that they have a farm team in probably Norway, how would they get, a sub player over to Las Vegas on the other side of the world?
I mean, I don't think you really do that. I think right now the way it would work anyways, if they're either playing LAN or they're going to be at an event, so you're flying them to an event. Right now, half the events are in Europe anyways, half of them are in the States. I don't know. I think you're going to run into a struggle if you're trying to do it as a last minute thing, but I think most of these changes are not really meant for last minute. It's kind of have a support structure and being able to build some new players up. When you're hearing these guys talking about, like $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 monthly salaries, if you're able to find a player that's new and can like compete with these guys and is only asking for half that, that's going to become like scouting is going to become so important for this. That we talked about it with Ryu, right? He said he finds the good talent. They find great talent. They kind of build it up. Yes, it's going to get taken from them at some point when people come with like a bigger paycheck, but it's allowing these teams to compete at a certain level just by being better at finding these guys.
And one more thing that the owner of the manager of Rogue talked about was this NRG money in DC. Can you guys break down exactly what happened there?
I wish I knew because
Okay.
I wasn't working the day that broke. I wasn't in the score office, and I saw it and I was like, okay. Like I understand if you read the statement from the city of Washington D.C. Like they're like, oh, we sponsor this jazz festival and we sponsor ballet and esports. This team is like a cultural thing, and that's fine. That's fine. But I just was like blown away that it was NRG who don't have a cash flow problem, let's put it that way, and now they're getting municipal money. I don't.
Yeah. So I mean, what I read was that they're going to take the WNBA stadium and also make it available to do esports, right? Yeah. And with the influx of young people in DC, I guess they want to make it sort of like an East versus West. Like if you've got, if you got California, maybe even Las Vegas, maybe they're trying to do the East Coast, West Coast thing because they're investing huge money into a WNBA stadium that they're going to turn into a fully capable esports stadium.
Yeah, and I mean, I think part of it is just trying to get use out of that arena anyways. I mean, you've got a few nights of the month that you can get this instead. You throw some esports in there, some extra revenue. Get some use out of your investment.
Absolutely, man. That sounds great. So coming up next, we've got Sadokist, who is right online with us.
Oh, hey,
Sado. He's loud and clear.
Yo, hello. How are ya?
This is Colin McNeil. We've been emailing back and forth from the score, and I'm here with Ryan Stratton and Kyle Chatterson.
Yo.
Are we live already?
We are live and direct.
Wow. Oh, sweet. All right, wicked. Good to be here. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I've been sitting in studio all day. Did a show with Thorn today, too, so this is good.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Got a busy day. You're missing the Blizzards back in Canada, so congratulations on that.
Yeah, I've seemed to have succeeded in doing that over the last couple of years. I keep hearing about it though from my parents.
That's good.
And I don't really feel bad.
Well, I guess, Sado, we should just jump off with just get right into it with the last thing that I was watching you at, which was IEM. How was that?
Yeah, really good. Some small issues here and there.
Yeah.
I still don't agree with doing concerts before a final, but that was all pushed back due to the fact that StarCraft. Yeah.
Don't blame
I think
StarCraft, man. Don't blame StarCraft.
What? Blame
that's
StarCraft.
the
Throw it
thing.
under the bus.
I've done that before. I ended up on their Reddit once. That was fun.
Nice.
I feel like that's an
my-
accomplishment, though, right? Like that's something you're aiming
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been on the I've been on the Dota subreddit, the League subreddit, and the StarCraft subreddit, roasting them. So my Twitter didn't survive well during the StarCraft one.
That sounds like a
oddly.
goal. Let's try to get Sado up on a few more Reddits.
I was about to
guys.
say he could just join the Overwatch one by joining Monty.
Yeah, there we
just
go.
sign his petition.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, but the thing is, I'm roasting other esports, and Overwatch is an esports. So
Ooh, and there we go. That's it, guys.
Oh
Clip
my
it. We're done.
God. Okay, we better get off this subject before he says something about StarCraft and breaks my heart.
Get out of here, FGC guy.
at least you guys had a good casting duo. No, listen. I mean, it was a good event. There was a few computer issues, more so with the league the week before. I think CS
Yeah.
dealt with most of them. Obviously, the elephant in the room, which isn't an issue that's of anyone's fault other than the team itself, but Virtus.pro not making the playoffs was kind of a bummer. Just because that crowd is so nuts when they're playing there.
Yeah.
But overall, they were pretty good. They still showed up. The finals went a little bit late into the night. But for viewership-wise, it was in CEST or whatever, CET, whatever we are right now, Central European. So it was pretty decent viewership for North America then anyway. They didn't really lose a lot online from that. They lost a few people in the arena, but that was fine.
Well, let's talk more about crowds actually, because that's a subject I've become a little bit more interested lately in terms of CS:GO. So obviously in Katowice, the crowds were huge. Blah blah blah. They weren't maybe so loud during the musical performance, but they were there. And in DreamHack, they weren't in Vegas. Can you talk to me a little bit about sort of how much crowds matter in high-level CSGO and what actually went on in Vegas specifically?
I would put it. I mean, first and foremost, I've already had an interview that was quite controversial about my thoughts on North American events, and I'll come back to that. But I think the importance of a crowd isn't that there's a huge one; it's that there's not a lack of one. The lack of a crowd is far worse. For example, the E-League Major ran it in a much smaller environment. I thought it went very well. The place was full. It looks good on camera. It was in a music hall or a theater, a performance theater as well, so you get really good acoustics. And as such, I mean, it was really good for the overall feel and environment, the atmosphere, and that's the most important aspect. Even if that translates to stream or not, that might be up to production. Obviously, it should, but in the building itself, it was great. And even without North American teams as well, in the finals, we had a VP versus Astralis chant, which was a lot of fun to just be sitting in and enjoy. My thought was that obviously Columbus was great. And even New York was fantastic. Those are both in big cities. My thought with Vegas was a few things. One is, HLTV said it's not accessible. That's true by car, but it's not necessarily true as a blank statement, because we all know as North Americans, even in Canada, you can get direct flights to Vegas from pretty much anywhere. It's a hotbed. It's a tourist destination. A lot of people go there for weekend getaways. And to get there is pretty affordable. Now, being there is another story, to be fair. So for the demographic that is CSGO, it probably wasn't the best city. I think a couple of things happened. One is EVO goes on there, which is more of a convention, and it draws in a lot of people because it's a kind of a one-off event in that scene. With CS, we're kind of getting saturated. So I made the comment that just basically said, North American events need to slow down, and event organizers need to stop going there thinking that it's a free win in terms of attendance. The point I was making is that we've had Columbus, New York, San Jose, Oakland, ECS Season 2, just to name a few, in the past short little while, really, in under a year's time. And the first one, because it was a major, Columbus, and it was the first real massive event in North America in quite some time, or at least since CSGO's boom, it obviously was going to get a crowd. Everyone in North America was going to go, oh, we don't know if we're going to get any more events than this. This is a major. Let's go. So that one was great. Next couple events kind of trailed off a little bit. I mean, my point isn't that North America shouldn't get events. It's that it shouldn't be like someone made a video, for example, saying like, well, you can't say that North America shouldn't because the history of events in well, the history is only a year, and I forget who it was, whoever it was made a good video, but like it's only a year, whereas Europe's got lots of staples. Katowice is one of them. Cologne's one of them. Events in Sweden are very successful. I think the DreamHack Opens and BYOCs and stuff should absolutely continue going on, but top level events, there needs to be a few less in North America. People can't. It's a very spread out demographic, and people can't travel as much as I think event organizers are hoping they will.
Well, that's a fair point. And going back to something you said a little earlier, I was surprised because, as you brought up, for North Americans, Vegas is a very easy travel hub. I mean, that is like it's the definition of accessible in terms of flights and things like that. So that did surprise me. Now, you were just saying, you're doing this podcast. You just got off a call with Thorin. Obviously, you're casting. I'm kind of curious about like your life as, a top level CSGO caster. There is no shortage of events in CSGO. Are you, like frags and smokes 24/7, 365, or do you make time for other stuff?
It certainly seems that way. I used to make a lot of time. I'm the kind of guy that I always did a number of things. I played a ton of sports growing up. I was into photography, which I really want to get going again. I am currently building a full spec race car that I will take up some of my time and distract me by doing something else. So, but no, for the most part, yeah, I mean, I have lost a lot of that roundedness, I guess, that I would call it in my life, where I was doing and trying to be as active as possible. And a lot of that just is due to the travel and the amount that we are working. So at times, yeah, it seems like 24/7, 365 smokes, as you say, and flashes and nonstop CS, to the point where I can get quite frustrated with it. And I feel kind of pigeonholed in that even when I have time off, I can't do anything with it because I'm in a hotel or I'm in a city I've never been in, and exploring only goes so far, or I only have so much time. So, but then at the same time, it's an awesome job and I love doing it. So you kind of settle into it eventually. And I think this year, last year I did 29 events. Rather than do that many this year, we're kind of doing more long stints. So right now we're at ESL Pro League. I'm in Cologne. We're going to be here for 4 months with various events in between, Vegas being one of them, Katowice. So there's a couple more coming up that I can't really say, but I'm sure people could figure out. But at least I have 3 or 4 weeks at a time in one place. So now I can settle in and, join a local soccer club or, whatever, and whatever I should choose, go to the gym. At least it gives me something to do.
Well, not to beat a dead horse, Kyle and Ryan, but see, burnout in CSGO is real even for casters. Okay.
No, I get that. And Kyle's been talking about that ever since we were talking about the World Championships moving to China with League of Legends and the amount of time that they want them to stay there. I get it. Burnout is an issue. I get it. And thank goodness that there are some people taking on these work-life balance things, man. Good on
Hey,
them.
I'm not trying to chirp you for it. I'm just saying.
Actually, even just on that note, we talk a lot about it. Like, these guys aren't joking. I think for the past 2 weeks, we've talked about burnout to some degree. How do you kind of see CSGO developing into a healthy state? Like, we're overloaded right now. So what is your kind of ideal state of CSGO?
That's the problem. This all goes back to the same subject as the crowds, to be honest. So if you look at the way that it is right now, there's definitely everyone during the boom wants their piece of the pie. But the problem is everyone's eating it too quickly, and it's going to be gone soon. So
good
there's
analogy.
a couple of issues. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the teams are worn out. We get worn out at times. It's not sustainable. If you were a sponsor looking to try and get into CS right now, there's so much going on that where do you start? Where do you? I mean, the teams are a safe bet if you can get a decent one, at a business price that you agree to, whatever. But leagues are just all over the place, and it is settling. We're finally hitting sort of a prize pool that I call the premier level, 250 and up, which used to be the majors. Now the majors are $1 million. That becomes a little more sustainable for the teams to pick and choose. But there's still so much going on with the leagues. You got E-League, you've got ESL, you've got ECS. I know E-League is apparently taking, and I don't know what their plans are, but they're taking a little bit of a step back this year. They're not running a league right now, which was, what I would have expected. I think it's going to stabilize. The problem is that much like, and then the reason I brought in the crowds into this is because there's so much going on. It's just, you can't keep running events of that scale and expecting it to grow, especially for advertisers looking at it and seeing empty arenas. Fans don't want to go to that much stuff. I mean, in a perfect world we would, but it's not, people who can't afford to travel that much, as I already mentioned. I think it's going to stabilize at some way where exclusivity, there's the buzzword, comes into it. And I hope that it's not forced. I think that's what people are scared of. If it's forced exclusivity where someone manipulates the teams like PEA tried to do, or, if WESA bullies them into playing for only their leagues, then that's not that's not conducive. That's not what we want. That's not what players want. That's not what teams want. It's not going to work. But if it happens naturally and the players all agree to it and it seems to be the right fit, then that's probably the best thing in the long term because it stabilizes everything in the scene. Standalone events can still work. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear a tier 1 and a tier 2 cut is going to happen where, you're seeing teams pick and choose events and you get a few more weeks in between for practice because I think that's the other big thing too. Not only are they burnt out with events, but if they have to make a change because they're in a slump, when do you have time to practice that change?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, even with having like a farm team or an academy team now, like that, how much more important that is because it gives you like an actual standard practice schedule. You've got people you can always practice against. The people you're going to be bringing up to fill a hole if you need it. I think we're heading in the right direction, as you said. But yeah, in terms of exclusivity, I think it's kind of the right destination, but the wrong path that we've been taking so far.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know it's a buzzword, and I mean, I'm not necessarily saying I want it, but if it happens in the right way and it does equalize things, then that's probably the best way to do it for sure. I know a players' union's kind of being formed. That's tough too, but eventually, I think that's where we land. All
right, Sado. So we just spent 5 minutes talking about it. You got your head in pro CS:GO more than pretty much anybody I could mention. I want to get your take on the scene right now in terms of like teams, who's hot and who's not, because we just came back from a period where there was a lot of shuffling going on, this player going to that team, blah blah blah, and that sort of sorted itself out, I guess, at Katowice, and we saw some of the rosters with those hot new additions in their first major performance. So can you give me like a little report card going forward in 2017?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious team to watch right now is FaZe. I think that goes without saying. They wanted Nico forever. They couldn't make it work. The buyout was too high. I don't know where it landed, but we know it's a pretty decent amount. I wouldn't mind a chunk of that change. But yeah, I mean, it's that's the team to watch. With him in there now, being free, less pressure on him. He doesn't get mad because he knows his teammates are capable of doing more. Rain seems to be loosened up as well because of it. Keo's playing lights out. Kerrigan's finally brought what they need in terms of in-game leading, and Alu's looking good. Right now, they're the team to watch. I think you'll see some very consistent finishes out of them. I think Katowice was just the start of them getting rolling, and I really hope that's true. I hope it's not just a honeymoon. I get a feeling it's not going to be, but that's always something you have to consider in that case. And then obviously Astralis and Virtus.pro, those two guys are so neck and neck right now and back and forth. And I think Virtus.pro has more longevity to them. I think that's been proven based on the fact they've been a roster for 3+ years. Whereas Astralis always seem fragile. They're getting better with that mental game. They brought in a psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever it is. One issues drugs, one doesn't. I think it's the non-drug, but I don't know.
Yeah, psychologist, you got it.
Yeah,
Nice.
Exactly. Yeah. So they brought her in, and that seems to be helping them out quite a bit. But the other team that I think people have kind of, we went through their era, SK with Phelps. I think one of the issues that really hurt them at Katowice was Phelps is playing so aggressively, and they want to let him play his style before they try and, push him into a role. And I say this about everyone that makes roster change. You have to learn the player as much as they have to learn you. So I think Fallen always tries to do this, is he tries to bring in new players and let them kind of just have their own game for a while and then figure out how best to cater that to their needs. The problem is that Fur's been playing really aggressively right now as well. And even though they had the two best stats of their team in Katowice, if you look in some of the crucial rounds, they were getting 1 or 2 kills, but giving up crucial map control every time they died in a certain spot. So I think they have to balance that aggression, and I think it'll take a bit of time just because, again, practice schedules. I know they boot camped before Katowice, but now they've got some time off. But they're going to be consistent. The teams that you have to look for improvement, though, are the obvious three. Yeah. G2, the French team, that they're looking horrible right now compared to what was expected. I know that they are in the same country as I am. They're in Germany right now, I think in Berlin doing a boot camp. Hopefully something will come out of that. They're still trying to qualify for Star Ladder, which would be their first big event. They need a result there. NIP, if they go through with this report that Pith's out and Draken's in, that could stabilize their roles. Still don't think it'll fix all the problems, but they're a team to watch. And then Fnatic, when are they going to, or are they going to go back to the form they're in? That's the other question.
So is Mouse basically just sort of out of the equation completely now?
I mean, they're doing well online in Pro League still, which is a pleasant surprise. But until we see them at an offline event in that environment, it's going to be really hard to tell.
Yeah, no kidding. So before we let you go, Sado, I just wanted to bring things to a bit more of a lighthearted zone. And I wanted to see if we could get a little story time going, if we could get something like the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you at a LAN event, or that you've seen, or that someone said to you. Because I know esports fans can get a little out there sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, well, negatively, I would say Bucharest, which kind of sucks because I really love that city. But the chocolate bar throwing incident wasn't. I didn't even know what happened. But Henry got hit in the face twice. That one wasn't great. I've had people call me Semler. And there's actually a tour I did at DreamHack Winter, or maybe a summer. I was walking around and I said, this guy goes, "Oh, you're that caster guy," and I was like, "Yeah, what's my name?" He's like, "Oh, Semler," and I was like, awesome. I've had lots of that, but the weirdest one that I think, like, in terms of actual weird for me, and it's weird because it's with Thorin. We were back in the days when we all had to share rooms before we started realizing, this isn't going to work. We traveled too much and got our own hotel rooms. I was sharing with Thorin a lot. I think him and I tend to get along outside of the game a lot too, so it was working out well. And I was sharing with him at a Star Ladder event in Ukraine, and I walked into the room a little bit late after he'd gone to sleep. And he shot up and started yelling out, like it wasn't even English. Like, I don't know, I don't think Thorin speaks other languages, but he just started yelling in the middle of the night, sat straight up, looked at me and said, "Oh, hey," and went back to sleep without saying another word. And I thought, all right, he had a dream. I woke him up. It's fine. I asked him the next day. He had no recollection of it. He still denies it to this day. And it was like, I swear I was going to leave the room. I was so scared when he first started yelling. I thought I was like, this is so bizarre, Thorin. Like, you are as crazy as people say. And then, anyway, never happened again, but it was a pretty weird one.
Well, we're glad you made it out alive at least.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, when's he going to pull the knife? He has a redhead. He's got, like, it's a little crazy. Like, the knife comes out from under the pillow, and I'm just, like, sleeping. Stabs me a few times in the morning. He just denies. Like, no.
Oh, shit.
Who's got the real problems there?
Well, yeah, right. He's got all these murder fantasies in his head.
All right, well, that's going to top the CS:GO Reddit if that happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's try to not let that happen.
Yeah, well, there's nothing we can do from here, Ryan.
Right.
Sorry. Sado, thank you so much for joining us here at the Score Esports Podcast. We really appreciate your time.
Perfect. Thank you guys very much. Always good to help out another Canadian company.
Yeah.
Cheers
to that.
Yeah.
Represent.
Enjoy Europe.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Later.
Take care.
All right, so as Sado gets to...
Let's take a swig of maple syrup for the Canadians.
Yeah, exactly.
We
And we
should've
got to go shovel our driveways and whatnot.
Oh, tomorrow's going to be worse. Anyways, nobody cares about our weather. Just think about us when you guys are enjoying the sunlight wherever you live.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening to this from Florida or some tropical paradise, I envy you.
Well, that was good. I'm glad we got a couple different perspectives on CS:GO.
It's really interesting to think, if you look back at last week's interviews with Ryu from Selfless Gaming, and then this week, just the up-and-coming, I guess, like, support teams, second-tier teams, how there's going to be a feeder system to hopefully what levels out as, like, a greater league, consistent league where the crowds can show up. I mean, I think that we're really onto something. I really think that we're onto something, and I think that esports is headed in a great direction.
Wow, you are always positive, Ryan.
Let's not fuck it up, people.
That's better. That's better.
There we go. There we go. All right, guys. I think that's just about going to do us, eh?
Yeah, I think so. I wanted to talk a little bit about Final Round. Just shout-outs to them. Shout-outs to that. My boy Taquito lot. That's FGC. I know you guys don't even care.
Hey, no, I'm down. Give it a go.
Yeah. No, just first Capcom Pro Tour, event of the year, and
have you been playing your Ibuki yet?
I tried Ibuki when Season 2 first came out, and she's hype. I just haven't learned the character. I'm very bad with her. I'm sticking with Urian because, frankly, he's amazing.
So now is my time to talk about Rocket League. Am I right?
Oh God.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody's got a pet project now.
Use the bathroom.
All right.